This is Residence 104.4 FM. Flipping marvellous. I'm Nick Hennegan, and welcome to another episode of Literary London, an orgy of, well, literature in London. This time, not only are we doing it on the radio, my loves, but we're actually in vision as well. Yes, if you're listening in stereo, you'll be able to just see that. I haven't got me performing shirt on tonight. I've just got me, a nice plain blue number. But yes, we're on YouTube at the Maverick Theatre Company YouTube video, and of course, as always, it'll be on the podcast at Maverick Theatre Company and LondonLiteraryPubCrawl.com. And it's a brilliant. I'm really looking forward to this afternoon for this session, as it were, because I'm joined by Bonnie Macbird. Hello, Bonnie.
Hello, Nick.
Well, I don't really know where to start because you're a phenomenon, and we're actually talking specifically about a Sherlock Holmes story, an adventure. It's a book called The Three Locks, and if you're listening in stereo, you'll be able to see that as well. There we go, the cover there, The Three Locks, which is a Sherlock Holmes adventure, and I've also got here another one, The Devil's Jewel, A Devil's Due. But in fact, it's The Three Locks, which is the new book that we're talking about this afternoon. So, you're an American.
I am.
And I noticed writing about Sherlock Holmes, that yes. Must be quite interesting.
Well, I don't know. It's pretty natural. I've fallen in love with him at age 10, so I've been kind of immersed for a long time. And yeah. I live now right off Baker Street, so if the immersion wasn't total before, it now is.
Yeah. Oh no. I also know that I haven't read both through both of them, but I love the fact that Wilton's music hall makes an appearance quite early on.
Yes, it does.
In The Three Locks. And I thought, it sounds like a local. So tell us about yourself. So you're from California originally, in America.
Yes, I am. I'm from California, and I grew up there, and I've spent the last 35 or more years in the entertainment business. I have degrees in music and film. Those are my university degrees. And then I went to Hollywood, and I began working at the studios as a story editor, which is pretty much like a book editor, only for scripts. And I did notes and all the things we had in development. This was at Universal Studios. And I did that for 4 years. And then I left to be a screenwriter and did that for a number of years. My first movie that I wrote that was bought was Tron, the movie Tron. And then after that, I started acting. I did acting for a while, did quite a bit of theater. And then I ran a production company for 10 years, did a lot of documentary films. And then I had a life change, and one of those moments in life where you go like, I really need to start doing the bucket list items. And so there was really only one on my bucket list because I mostly do them, and it was write a novel. So I thought, okay, this is going to take me a year, maybe two. Who do I want to sit in a room with all by myself for 2 years? And it came to me, it's like Sherlock Holmes, there's nobody else. And I thought, well, this is not going to be commercial because there's so much of it out there and stuff, but I didn't care. It's like what I wanted to do. And it's my passion. I love this character, and I've loved him since I was age 10. So that was it. Then I just started writing, and now so I did one book, and HarperCollins bought it. And then they turned it into a 3-book deal and then a 5-book deal. So the one you have in your hand, The Three Locks, is number 4. It just came out, or it's coming out on April 1st, April Fool's Day. No, I'm just kidding about all of this. Right.
Well, yeah. When did it all go right? That's all I can say, really. I know we'll be, if you want to get in touch, of course, you can, as always, at radio@mavericktheatre.co.uk. Obviously, we're recording this in advance, and of course, socially distanced.
Yes, I know. I know. Although you seem very close.
Yes, I have moved in very close. Yeah, the way I work my camera, don't you know? So, let's go. Well, let's talk about Sherlock Holmes a bit. So, what is it? What is it about Sherlock Holmes? What dragged you? What attracted you to the character?
I love smart people. Just basically that. And he's an outsider. He's a champion for justice, but he's a bohemian in fitting with the theme of your show. He is a true bohemian. In fact, the word bohemian is used 9 times in the canon, just so you know. But sometimes it's bohemian like from Bohemia, but frequently it's bohemian like Sherlock Holmes is bohemian. But anyway, so because he's off kilter and he's an outsider and he's super smart, the books are hilariously funny. To me, they're a treasure. And then it also has, I think, probably the best friendship in literature. He and Watson have this bond that is so inspiring. It's like everybody would want a friend like Watson, or want to be a friend like Watson. So just there's the combination of things, and then of course the stories themselves have this very weird combination of being, kind of outre and scary and gothic even, and then they have a cozy element because they always end up around the fire at 221B. You know you're going to have a happy ending, but you have no idea how you're going to get there. And so this, is just a delight. And then there's another reason, and that is that I like to write to form. I like form challenges. So screenwriting is very writing to form. Sonnets, I like to write sonnets. I just like the challenge of writing to form. And there are so many constraints in writing a Holmes story that this just challenged me on a creative level in a way that delights me.
In what sense? In what sense constraints? Because of the characters.
Well, you have to deliver. There's a lot of expectation coming along when you present a book as being a traditional Holmes story. First of all, Conan Doyle wrote 56 short stories, 4 novellas, but no full-length novels. His novellas, the longest one is around 40,000, and novels are 80 to 120. So the construction of those is different, but yet you have to deliver on a bunch of stuff that the readers expect. You've got to deliver the characters and their relationship and the humor. You've got to deliver really smart deductions. And here's something I decided early on. I was not going to cheat them. I was not going to go, oh, I can see, by the drape of your curtains that you've, been in France or something. I mean, this is, BS deductions as opposed to real ones. But real ones are hard. And so I thought these are going to be real. They're going to be surprising. So deductions, the friendship, the humor, and then the delivery of the weird elements, the scary. I mean, it's really quite scary in places, and then how he figures it out, and you don't know really kind of till the end. But no rabbits out of the hat, because that's not fair.
Yeah.
So there's all those constraints, and then a further constraint is writing in the first person as Watson, because he has to be in every scene. He's there, and you have to have a reason for him to be there. And he can't be just watching. He has to participate, but he can't participate too much or it becomes the Watson story. So there's a fine line there. And then the fourth biggest challenge of this stuff is to, Conan Doyle created this environment and this language, I guess, in a way. He did it in the form of short stories and sort of structurally, short stories like a Japanese bridge over a stream. It starts and there's a middle and a climax and it ends. But a novel is a long form. And so it's more like a suspension bridge with a lot of pylons, because if you don't, it's not going to hold up. And so those pylons, sort of story-wise speaking, are great emotional turns, surprises, moments of action. In other words, you need these kind of elevating, kind of exciting things, and you need more of them in a novel. And then plus you need a general 3-act, I believe, that's my theory, that you do need the 3-act structure also. So there's a lot of, all of this was in my head going in, and then I have to kind of set that aside and, make them speak and make the story flow, but with those things kind of underneath.
It's great. I mean, what I loved as well, in a sense, you almost don't need to be a Sherlock Holmes fan to enjoy these books. I mean,
really?
I very much like the sense, very much the excuse me, COVID recreation, the sense of space and the fact that they almost instantly, you instantly latch on to what they're doing and where they're coming from. And of course, writing about, a period of history. I quite liked your forward in this as well, which was a strange, that's so strange, nothing strange about it, but you write it as the foreword is written as if you, the writer, have just had this story come to you 150 years after
Yes,
the prologue, I should say,
right.
which I'm
Yeah.
holding up now for listening in stereo. There you can see. Yes, the mysterious woman going by the name of Lydia. I'm sure I'm sure that will pop up later on. So, and it strikes me as well then that I mean, it sounds like a slog.
You know, no,
Because it's Sherlock Holmes, perhaps.
yeah, but I love spending time with these two men.
Yeah.
And I also like, you do theater, so you know this, that sometimes you get cast as something that you feel like, this is nothing like me. How do I find this?
Mm.
Well, I love being in John Watson's head.
Yeah.
So, behaving as him on the page and becoming him. And that is just extremely fun for me. So
And,
that's one of the things. Yeah.
and so are you one for structuring the books before you actually start writing? What's your process, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, it's evolved a bit over the 4 books. Initially, the first draft of the first book was totally pantsed. I don't know if you have that. Do you have that expression here, pantsed?
Not
It
really.
means by flying by the seat of your pants.
Yeah. Oh, yes, yes,
So
yes.
you pants
Yeah.
the thing, meaning you just like
Yeah.
start. You don't know where it's going. I knew what the crime was, and I knew who did it. That's all I knew. I didn't know where they were going to go, how I was going to figure it out, what's going to happen. I didn't know any of that, and it took me 2 years. And I did the first draft of that one through a NaNoWriMo. That's National Novel Writing Month. That's just a construct that started in San Francisco a number of years ago, and now it's worldwide.
Yes,
Basically,
yes.
you know about it?
Yes, no, it's quite big in this country as well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's basically you sort of belch out draft in 30 days. And it's terrible but it has a beginning, middle, and end, and you come to the end. And then but it's a starting point because you can edit. You can't edit blank pages. So
Yeah.
it's a reasonable start. But so if you start totally pantsing, then usually the number and the amount of rewrites is formidable. So over the 4 books, I've developed something that's a little more of a hybrid process. It's still quite a bit of pantsing because that's where the freshness comes. Like I don't know what they're going to say until they say it. I have no idea. They just start talking. But I know a little bit more going in. I did know, though, on the first book, I did have a theme. One of the things I decided early on was, crime fiction, you know, unfortunately, it's called genre fiction, which is a belittling term, really.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to do. So and also it often has a lot of life lessons and kind of important stuff in it, but buried in a plot, and so it's overlooked in terms of that. But I believe a novel length Holmes needs a theme. So I'm not pretending that it's literature, but why not aim? So, and also I feel like you have to give the reader a little more meat when you're giving a novel.
Yeah.
So each of my 4 books explores a theme, and particularly how it connects to one or both of the 2 main characters, and also some other characters in it. So the first book, Art in the Blood, is taken from a quote from the canon, from the original canon. Art in the Blood is liable to do the strangest things because Holmes and his brother Mycroft are a little bohemian. Even though Mycroft is the British government, and they're very unusual people, and so basically, Art in the Blood, because their grandmother was the sister of the artist Vernet. So I use that theme as if you have the artistic temperament. What does that mean exactly? It means usually you're sensitive, maybe more sensitive. It means you are maybe emotionally volatile. It can mean you're flaky. And in Victorian times, it sometimes meant you're gay. And it can mean all kinds of things. But basically, to me, an artistic temperament is something that bestows gifts and some negative qualities. So the gifts are you notice details that others don't, and you can sense patterns where others see, the trees. Whatever you can distill, because if you think about like what the Impressionists did with countryside, pastoral paintings, suddenly they were just immensely beautiful shapes and colors. So you distill, and you are more sensitive, probably. So all of these things go into detecting him, and they all serve him as a detective. And the trade-off for this is basically emotional vulnerability. Holmes, we know, he basically is described in the canon as manic depressive, what we would call manic depressive now, bipolar, because he's in the middle of a case, he's like a maniac, and he doesn't sleep and he doesn't eat, and he just and at the end of it he sometimes collapses, and then he self-medicates with cocaine and also occasionally morphine. So we know that he's got a mood disorder. I mean, he would be in modern parlance. So this is to me the extreme example of the artistic temperament. So basically the theme of that first book was, what are the benefits and the risks of having this kind of temperament, which I found very fertile.
Yeah, well, for a writer as well, I suppose, for a creative or someone with that similar temperament. I'm not obviously making any assertions when it comes to the morphine, but excuse me. But yeah, it must be fascinating. And I'm Nick Hennegan. This is Resonance 104.4 FM. Marvelous. It's Literary London, both on Tut Wireless and on Tube, on YouTube, on the Maverick Theatre YouTube, if you're looking. Hello. I'm talking to Bonnie Macbird, who is the author of, well, this is number 4 of 5 Sherlock Holmes books, and rather jolly good it is too. It's called Three Locks. The Three Locks is the current one. Now I've got to ask you about Tron, because otherwise I'll get lynched by probably Kath from California, who she's been listening for years, always says she listens on the beach. I'm not sure about that, but anyway, she's always listening on the beach. So hello, Kath from California, and also Piotr from Poland as well. He always asks the same question. He wants to know about the writing process, as in, so yeah, what is your writing process? We must talk about Tron as well, but what's your kind of daily? So you've got a brilliant thing as a writer. I'm sure we all appreciate to have that commission as well, obviously well deserved and all that. So what's your kind of daily process? Are you a 5-day-a-week writer? Do you binge? What software do you use for instance?
Well, I'm a 7-day-a-week writer.
Yeah.
And I do it first thing when I get up, coffee, then write. And I write to word count as opposed to time. Although if I get stuck, sometimes I'll switch that up. But generally speaking, I write to word count.
Do you have a daily word count? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it will vary. I will always do 1,000. And sometimes my word count will be 2,500. But what it is I use a program called Scrivener.
Yeah.
And so I set a target date for the draft, and then I have a rough idea of the length, and that might shift as I'm going along. I might go, oh, this is going to be a little bit longer. This one's be a little shorter, because I mean the 4 books range. One is 85. I think that's the shortest, and the longest is 125 or something. So I start to feel as the story goes, like, so I get a word count goal. And then I have a date that I'd like to have this draft done by. And then it calculates for me how many words I have to get done a day. It'll tell you, and you can adjust that. I'm going to work 5 days a week, 6 days a week, 7, and it'll recalculate for you. But I work to word count because it guarantees progress. And sometimes the word count will take me an hour and a half, but usually not. Usually it takes me 3 or 4. And sometimes it takes me 8 or 9.
Yeah.
And I just do it. And so I just do it no matter what. And I don't wait for the muse, because I don't know where she is. Just sit down.
She was such a cow sometimes, that muse, I tell you.
Yeah, where is she? And what are you wearing today? What? Anyway, so it's like, yeah, I know. It's just kind of like, you just got to go. And then I also disregard what I think of what I'm writing while I'm drafting, because it's never accurate. And sometimes I think, oh, it's just utter awfulness. I'm not going to say a swear word, but just utter awful stuff. And then I come back the next day, it's like, oh, that wasn't so bad. Now I had to fix this little thing, but actually it's quite good. So you never know, and you needn't know. You just need to press on. And there is a time to be editorial and to be, critical, but it's not in the drafting
So
phase.
you subscribe to the philosophy of don't get it right, get it writ, which is a
Yeah, well,
quote we had. Yeah,
first draft, definitely, yeah.
yeah,
And then the other thing is, and this is really, really crucial and something, I taught writing for 11 years at UCLA Extension. I forgot to mention that also. And one of the things I tell my students is to gather a group of similarly gifted and motivated people and form a crit group. And I have two actually that I work with, and I run my pages by them every week. We all do that, and we crit each other's, and like, ooh, tough, 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 but nicely tough.
yeah,
And
positive.
then so these things go through the ringer, and they go through the ringer while I'm drafting. I'll bring in stuff that's a few sessions behind where I'm at on the page right then. And so I don't go back and do giant rewrites while I'm pressing forward, but I will sometimes go back a little. And every day I go back and read the day before, make a few little things, and then press on. Like it's like diving off a diving board. It's like running up and just dive. Don't spend too much time bouncing on the diving board. So but I use these crit groups, and then when I'm done, I read it aloud, and then I actually go to a final person before I turn it into my publisher. I use a very talented man in New York who reads it and gives me, hell about it. He's very tough, but he's very good. But usually by that time, it's pretty bulletproof. So he's been quite pleased that he's not getting, somebody's beginning draft. So I'm kind of am super diligent about it.
Yeah,
But
and it's, I mean, obviously, if you've been doing it for a while, I can't believe you've been around for so long, actually, my dear. But anyway, that's just me being flattery. And you'll see if you listen on YouTube, if you're watching. And so Tron's, I mean, legendary. Where did that come from? And the Hollywood thing.
Oh, okay. Well, my master's degree was in film, and I intended to go to Hollywood, and I thought I wanted to produce, but I quickly realized I wanted to do the creative stuff and not the producing is, well, you know what it is. You produce, don't you?
Yeah, I have. Yeah,
Yes, it's
yeah,
hard work, and it's
yeah.
organizational, it's managerial, it's money, and it's the decider.
Yes, yes.
Anyway,
So I'm not a very good producer, but anyway.
it's hard. It's hard. It's
Yeah,
marketing. It's a lot of things. Anyway, so I got this job at Universal, and I was being a story editor, which I enjoyed because that's creative. But I ended up finding myself on the phone all day long about other people's movies, and it's like I want to make a movie. I don't want to just be talking about other people's movies
yeah.
all the time. I want to do one. And so this guy came to the studio, and we were working together on a project called Lightning. He was a young animator out of Boston, and we had a couple of ideas together. And he had a special effect that made lightning look good. And the person we were working with was the guy who did Sense Around and Earthquake. And
Yeah,
so
I
he was
remember
that,
that.
and he was looking for the next big special effects thing. And so he thought lightning would be it, but they didn't have a story. So they brought me in to try to make a story happen with lightning. And so anyway, we hit it off. We left the studio together and formed this company. We were going to do two films. One of them was going to be Tron. And it happened that one of the things I did for Universal was I covered theater for them. And I covered the comedy scene, which was very hot at that time. And one night I went to see a young comic, and he was upstairs in a little room with linoleum floors and fluorescent lights over a gas station. He had a cardboard box with hats, and he mesmerized the audience. It was Robin Williams.
Ah, bless.
And yeah,
Yeah,
so I was way before anybody knew about him. And I saw him, and I thought, oh, my God, this man. And I went back to the studio and I said, this man, this man, get him now. And they didn't listen to me. And they didn't listen to me. And that is one of the reasons I left. And I thought, well, I'm going to write a movie for this man. So I wrote the original drafts of Tron with Robin Williams in my head. And to this day, I write theater also. To this day, I love to write for actors. I love to have an actor in my head and write
yeah.
right for them.
Yeah, or Robin Williams. What a fan! It's a bit like
Yeah.
the man who turned down the Beatles, or the record company that turned down the Beatles. And Robin, yeah, I mean, what a
Robin, I know
sad, brilliant, sad talent.
I know he was just an amazing man. I mean, even with nothing, in a box of hats in a little room, I just,
Yeah.
he
Sounds
just
like the Edinburgh
stunned me.
Festival, really. Actually, well, I stayed in Arthur Conan Doyle's flat. That's my claim to fame. Yeah,
Where,
we could talk forever, honestly.
wait, is this in Edinburgh during the Fringe?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
He had
yeah.
a flat over the. I mean, he wasn't there at the time. It was 1992. I wrote his version of Shakespeare's Henry V, and got picked up by a comedy promoter, actually. And although it wasn't a comedy, and they put us up in this at the Edinburgh Festival, and I'd not been there before. I didn't know what it was all about. But we were actually in the flat that used to belong to Conan Doyle, apparently, which is rather
Oh,
lovely. It was
fun.
very
Yeah, I
fancy
did the
flat.
Fringe one year also. I
Oh,
did
did you? Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
well, you've done it a few times recently. I
It's
mean,
fun. It's so fun.
yeah. Who knows what's going to happen this year with the current situation?
Yeah.
But well,
I
listen,
think they
we could
just
talk
canceled
forever.
it. I believe they just canceled it.
Yeah, I can't see it's going to happen. It didn't happen last year. I got
Yeah.
2 or 3 productions that we were going to take up there, but
Oh my.
yeah,
Yeah.
I got this anyway. We got this.
I know.
Keep
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, it's lovely up there, and
Yeah, well, we might have a little session up there again this year if it's the virtual thing happens. But I mean, we could say you must come back. Actually, we do it again when you put your next book out.
right.
We haven't really talked about Hollywood. I want to know how you got into the university as well, and your background. But we'll perhaps, because we've run out of time again. So thank you very much, Bonnie Macbird. The book is called The Three Locks, available from all good booksellers, and it's published by someone really famous.
HarperCollins.
Thank you. Thank you. Published by HarperCollins. I love you, HarperCollins. Available from all good bookshops. And thank you so much for coming in and having a chat.
Thank you. Thank you for
As
having
I say,
me.
you must come back when the next book. How long? 2 years. Well, yeah, inshallah,
Well,
we'll still have.
I have a theater thing in the works, so maybe for that.
Yeah. Oh, we'll talk about that as well. Yeah, definitely. And as always, if you'd like to get in touch, you can do. It's probably easiest to email at radio@mavericktheatre.co.uk. That's it for this time. Thanks very much again. If you're watching, we'll wave now. If you're watching on the Maverick Theatre.com, no, anyway, Maverick Theatre YouTube channel.
Oh, okay,
I
great.
get my .coms mixed up. And of course, this will also be on the London Literary Pub Crawl channel, because we need to talk about London and your love of London. So you must definitely come back. But for now, thank you very much again, Bonnie Macbird. I'm Nick Hennegan. This is Literary London on Resonance 104.4 FM.
Thank you.